All right, I think I'm going live now. We'll see if anybody shows up. If you're there, say something in chat. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this live stream in quarantine of our class. But I need to see if anybody's there. I don't know how this works. Let me see. All right. Looks like we got a few people there. Hey, Alyssa. Alyssa0402. Something in chat. Bada boom. No emotes. Sorry. You guys are no. I'm at home. I got a green screen. I got a whole home studio set up because that's how I roll. Hey, Tyler, Colin. A roll call here. Let give people a chance to show up. Sorry, I was a little late. I was getting a few things set up. One thing that I'm working on is my whiteboard. So we're gonna. Hey, Katrina. You have a very, very delightful emote there, Katrina, Kazi James. I got 5 people, so we got 15 in the class. I'm anticipating we'll have about 8 here. I guess. Somebody want to take a guess? Somebody take a gander. How many people they think will show up today? 9. I'm gonna go with 9. I think it's gonna be 9. So just so you guys know, as we actually I think we lost somebody. We went down. Someone already left. That was Canada. That's quarantined. That was got the work done. Crushed it. Got the work done, but it took a while. And I ended up, all the libraries were shutting down when I was up there, so I couldn't get into the libraries. And the federal judge contacted us, I guess, midweek after everything was shut down. And our deadline was the following Monday. I was flying back on Saturday, the last day that you could actually get out of the country. Going 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I bet we'll see. Oh, we got 9 watching now, but I'm one of those, so we're at 8, and we just dropped down to 8, so we just lost somebody. I wonder if like random people are showing up who aren't even like part of the class. You guys do much of this, so I'm gonna let you guys in on something that I have not shared with you this semester. I actually do a Twitch live stream. I have a home studio. I do live streaming from my home and remotely. And I have a fairly large following on one of my channels. I'm monetized. I'm making money on it actually, and it's an astronomy stream. I do live astronomy, and my name is Econ Greg. It's over there on Twitch, and everybody was wondering why I'm an astronomy guy and my name is Econ Greg. And I said, well, because I'm an economist. And then they all wanted to learn economics, so I have a Gregonomics channel over on Twitch also. And I do live streaming there, and I've invited some of my upper level students to come to that. We're doing different things there. So anyway, I've been doing this for a while now, so I got a pretty good handle on OBS. And like I said, I got my green screen here set up. And why is that? And one thing that I can do, I'm showing you the U.S. debt clock there if you're curious what's going on. All right, we're up to 9. So who had 9? Alyssa had 9. Hey, Elijah. All right, and now we can get started. Now that Elijah, or Elhaj Johnson. You guys just put your real names in there. That's kind of funny. On Twitch, everybody puts names like Fart Lord 420, 69, 420. That's like a name on Twitch. There's a bunch of names that I can't say on this stream, and a lot of my followers over there have those really ridiculous names. All right, Colby, good, glad you're here. So, but on YouTube, I figured YouTube would be a better platform for the class. So what we're gonna do, I don't want to waste your time, but hey, Estera, good to see you. We got 12 watch, so we're to 11. No one had 11. We all were under. We were guessing how many people were going to actually show up for this. So crazy, huh? The world has just completely gone crazy. A great time to be teaching economics, by the way. Have you guys? I hope you guys have kind of tuned in to some of the things that we've been talking about all semester. The whole notion of scarce resources and how there's just not enough to go around, and we're seeing that dramatically now play out in real time as we're kind of going through this disaster movie. This is actually better than real class, isn't it, Alyssa? This is easy. You can just tune in on your phone at the coffee shop. Not that you can go to a coffee shop, but if you could go to a coffee shop, you could tune into your phone. You can just sit in your house, safely quarantined away from everybody, so that you don't get germs. But as far as this thing is just, it's just chaos. This is we've got public health officials running the world right now, and I don't think they took economics, because this is costing us a lot of money. Yeah, the ventilators. That's it. Is it El Haj? Good. Do you see what I'm talking about? There are not enough ventilators to go around, and then they said, oh, we'll just make some more. Well, guess what? You don't make ventilators overnight, and they're trying to convert GM and Ford truck building facilities over to making ventilators, and guess what? Their gear is not exactly designed for there, right? This is tough. This is showing economics for what it is. This is the dismal science, right? There's not enough ventilators to go around, and that's why they had to basically shut down the planet, because that's the only thing that really can kind of save your life if you get viral pneumonia from the COVID-19 virus. The ventilator is the only thing that really can save you, and there was only like 60,000 in the U.S., and they were looking at maybe needing as many as 100, 200, 300, 500,000, and that would mean that a lot of people would just die. And so they public health officials said we just got to slow this thing down, and that's flattening the curve. That doesn't mean we're not going to get it. It means people are still going to get the virus. It's just we're going to get it over time, and we're rationing those ventilators over time. That's exactly what we're doing. And notice that it's a very inefficient way to ration. I mean, look at what we've had. Look at how much it's costing us to ration ventilators over time, because that's the game we're playing right now. We're literally rationing ventilators, and we just need to spread out the disease so that it doesn't spike and everybody goes to the hospital right now, because then we'd have to triage. And triage is the last line of defense when it comes to rationing scarcity. And with triage, you have to basically say, it's the marginal principle at work when it comes to life or death. Basically, you've got three categories of people in a catastrophic situation that requires triage like this. So I'm going to give you a little bit of what's going on now, just to kind of keep it current, and then we'll kind of talk about how we're going to do the rest of the semester. But you got three categories of people in a disaster. You've got people who are going to survive whether or not they receive treatment, but they may be in severe discomfort, right? They may be perfectly healthy, or they may be very, very sick, but they're going to survive with or without treatment. Then you've got the people that are going to die regardless of whether they get treatment. And then you've got the people in the middle that will die if they don't get treatment, but will survive if they do get treatment. So in that situation, it's that middle category that gets all the attention. They come first, right? So the people who are going to survive anyways, just send them home. The people who are going to die anyways, you send them home to die. And then the people who, at the margin, who stand the best chance of benefiting from the resource, from the treatment, the ventilator, they're the ones who get it. What's the problem with the current situation? Everybody's in that middle category. There's a ton of people who get viral pneumonia will be in that middle category, and that means you're going to have to ration it among those, and then the doctor has to play God, right? The doctor has to determine who's going to be in and who's going to be out. So this is real world economics. This is life and death economics right now. And the cost of rationing this stuff over time is going to be tremendous. It's going to be in the trillions of dollars. And I've had a lot of students and former students contact me and asking about this stimulus check, the $1,200 check that's going out per individual, $2,400 for a married couple plus $500 for kids, as long as you make under $75,000. It's a $2.2 trillion stimulus package, and people are like, are we going to have to pay it back? And I was like, what world do you live in? Of course we have to pay it back. I mean, you borrow money. The federal government's already running a $1 trillion deficit. They're already spending $1 trillion more than they bring in. So long story short, they're already borrowing $1 trillion a year. Now they're going to spend $2.2 trillion more this year, which means we're going to, in essence, triple from 1 trillion to 3.3 trillion, the amount of money that we borrow in a typical year. And that money has to be paid back. And the question is, where does the government get money to pay back $3.2 trillion? Well, they tax us. It comes out of our future taxes. So the trivial question is how, am I going to have to declare this on my taxes next year? Am I going to have to pay it back? Is it going to come out of my pocket? Hey, Andrew, glad you're here. The more interesting question is, of course, we have to pay it back. The question is, how long do we have to pay that back? How much will it harm us in the future? So just pay attention to what's going on here. This is life or death economics. I don't think that they're putting as much consideration into how much this is costing us. There's a trade-off here between the economy and lives, and no one wants to talk about that. And you got to be very careful about how you talk about that, because you don't want to make it sound like you're putting a value on human life, because in this environment these days that's taboo. That being said, it's not about that. It's about people die when the economy goes south. I mean, think about if we spend all of this money fighting this virus, then we don't have money to fight other things that can also cost lives. There'll be less money for other forms of health care. There'll be less money for smoke detectors for poor families, and kids will die in fires. So it's a life-for-life trade-off, and we have to be very careful about how we make those decisions. So that's the world we live in. That's why we're doing this. That's why I'm streaming my the class from now on. We're going to do this way, guys. We're going to meet once a week, Mondays. You're going to be responsible for the chapters. I've got this. Let me see if I can do this. Hold on. I've got where'd that go? Oh, there. I've got this cool pen right here. See that pen, magic pen? Got a cool magic pen. And why did that freeze up? And I've got this thing. And for some reason, what you got there? Yeah, the study guides are still up there on D2L, Alyssa. We've done we've done the first two chapters. We're on chapter 17 now. So your job this week is to go ahead and get through chapter 17. I'll do a quick lecture on that today. I'll give you guys a quick lecture on chapter 17 today. If you miss the live broadcast, it will be put up and saved later. I'd rather you guys all be here together because it works better with chat. So, I don't know. I need to think about that. I mean, I'll have these will be saved and put up there for later use, but I might hold them back for a while. So you need to come to class online and participate, but then they'll be put up like later for you guys to review before the test. But I don't want to make it where you don't have to show up, because then there'll be nobody in chat. And my experience, I've been streaming for a while now on Twitch. Like I said, I'm kind of big over there. It's funny. And so the thing is that unless you have people in chat, it's streaming is hard. Streaming is very difficult if nobody's in chat. So, yeah. So about your grades, good question, Katrina. You guys just got this dialed in. I got your test. We couldn't get into campus, and your tests were on campus. So I literally went there today and broke in to campus and got the stuff. Got your tests. I have to grade those, and I will put those up on D2L. So I'll start using D2L to show your grades. As far as the remaining, we have 2 more tests. So just some mechanics here. We've got 2 more tests to do, and as far as the last tests, I don't like this. As far as the remaining tests, we have one more 20% test and then the 40% final. Those are just going to be take-home exams. They will apply to the chapters, so we will be talking about the chapters. We've got until the last week in April to finish the course material, and then final exams go through like May 2nd. So really the beginning of May. By the end of April 30th, January, February, March, April 30th, we'll do all that. But I'll put your grades I'll get those up there today, Katrina. So you got the study guides there to review. Your tests will be just take-home exams. They'll be short answer, probably some multiple choice, and you'll just do them. You will submit them on D2L, and then we'll just grade you that way. So there really nothing has changed other than we're not going to be coughing on each other and passing germs. We'll be doing class online like this. These things will be put up at some later date for you guys to review before the test, but probably that week of the test. So let's pull up a calendar here. We're here. So we've got this week to do chapter 17. The first week of April, we'll do 16. So this week is the first week of April. So we'll do chapter 17 this week. And then 16, and then 18. And then I'll give you a test which will be due probably this on the 17th. So the next test, we will work towards the 17th. And that'll be on chapters 16, 17, and 18. And then all we have left is two chapters 10 and 11. And I'll be doing... So we're doing 17 this week, 16 next week. So, yeah, okay, so the 30th today, chapter 17 this week, chapter 16 next week, and then chapter 18 on the 13th. Then we got chapters 10 and 11 on the 20th and 27th, and your last exam will be, say, on the 1st. Your final exam will be on the 1st. And that's it. We're done for the semester. We're gonna do this. We're going to stick the landing. So, are there any questions about the mechanics of how we're doing this? It's just going to be take-home format on the test, so that'll help you guys with your grades. If you're worried about your grade, that should help you guys. I will still allow you to turn in the extra credit paper. So if you want to, I'll make a submission folder on D2L, so you can submit that anytime before the 1st. That's the end of the semester. So anytime before the 1st of May, you can submit the extra credit paper. The syllabus, which is on D2L, has directions on what you do for the paper. So if you want to do that, that's all there. I think we got this covered. I think this virus ain't gonna screw up our class. This is my only face-to-face class, so this is only I can devote all my attention to making sure this thing works. So, like I said, one thing to do: pay attention to the real world, because the real world is going through not only a health crisis, but an economic crisis. We're going to have a very deep recession from this. Technically, you need 2 quarters of economic contraction. We may get 2 quarters. We may just have 1 quarter. But if we have 2 quarters of consecutive economic contraction, then that's a recession. There are estimates that this could be as big as 25 to 30%, which is Great Depression level economic contraction. And that's huge. I mean, you guys probably know. Anybody want to share? Anybody know anybody that's been laid off from their job already? I mean, a lot of restaurant workers are screwed. Hospitality workers are screwed. Retail workers are screwed. A lot of the service industries. Education, we're plodding along, but it's going to be tough. I'm kind of curious about what you guys are thinking about continuing your degree. A lot of our classes will be online now. Will most of you still take summer classes and do all that kind of stuff? Those are kind of things I'm curious about. But this format, I think, is going to work for us. I think this format's good. Hold on a second. Here we go. So you yourself, Katrina, and your own personal contracts have been, wow, that's tough. And it's going to be hard. I mean, that's I've got a fairly stable job, so I'm not worried about about me, that's for sure. Um, but most of my consulting work is still going along, but that's definitely depending on what your line of business is. Yeah, that's tough. And the only thing I can say is this: it's going to be very difficult through the summer. Through the beginning of the summer, when things get back to normal, which they should hopefully by May. God, it's crazy. I was walking through my house the other day, and I read a headline on CNN.com or something that said the president was considering shutting down, quarantining New York, Connecticut, and Massachusetts or something. No, New Jersey, Connecticut, and New York. And I said, did I really am I in a world right now where we're talking about quarantining the northeastern states? I mean, that sounds like a really bad disaster movie that we're living through. That's what this is. It's like a horrendously stupid, poorly written disaster movie, kind of like Armageddon, but without Bruce Willis and Ben Affleck and that guy with the big eyeballs. It's like that, but even more poorly written than that movie, which was pretty poorly written. I saw that the other day. A horrendous movie. And that's where the asteroid is coming in. They got to drill a hole, which is the best plan ever, and put a nuclear weapon in. Yeah, it's just stupid. Okay, so what do we need to do? I need to figure out how to get this up and running. Hold on. Why did this wig out on me? Okay. And then that should go. Let me show you something here. Yeah, that's it. It's like El Haj. Yeah, it's like the. I'm waiting for the stupid zombies to come, and I got you got to get all your all the skill all the skill sets that I learned watching the Walking Dead. I watched all the seasons of The Walking Dead, and all the skill sets that I learned there that I thought I would need for the end of times, the zombie apocalypse that we're in now. I don't think any of those skill sets are very useful. I mean, because they didn't teach you in Walking Dead. They didn't teach you to not shake hands, right? I don't want that. They didn't teach you to socially distance yourself from the otherwise healthy people, right? They were just kind of they were still coughing on each other and stuff, and we're much safer than them. But it's just all the being running around marauding and shooting people. All the skill sets I thought I would need. I was filling up my Land Rover with gas and. Yeah, yeah. The grocery store it's what the zombie apocalypse is not horrifying. It's socially awkward. It's that's what it is. It's just this bizarre level of social awkwardness that we're dealing with. It's because you see someone okay, there's this guy who was in one of those little buggy thingies at the grocery store with his cane, and he was trying to get a 24 pack of bottled water. There's just wasn't going to happen. There's no way that guy. I mean, he was old and was very feeble. There's just no way he was going to get that water into his buggy. And I watched him, for the better part of 3 or 4 minutes, struggling with this water. I'm like, well, I can't. See, I've been traveling internationally. I might be one of the zombies, right? I might be one of the guys that's contagious. And I'm thinking, regular Greg is going to help this guy, but potential zombie Greg is just staring at this sad situation with this man who can't get his 24 pack of Dasani water put into his buggy cart at Kroger. And so for 3 minutes I watched him. I was like, is somebody going to help this guy? I might be contagious. I don't know. And I'm kind of in a self quarantine. I'm keeping my social distance, and I just felt awkward and not polite. They didn't prepare me for that in Walking Dead at all. And so then I go. I finally just what the hell? I mean, we're all gonna die at some point. The man needs his water. So I went over there and I picked up the water, and I put it in his buggy, and then he kind of motorized off, and he left his damn cane sitting there. And I'm like, well, do I touch his cane? What if he's got germs? So then I'm like, break open a thing of paper towels and walk his cane to him, and I'm like, here, you germ-ridden buggy man. And it's just weird. It's just a weird world we live in right now. So, anyway. Oh, so I got this thing. So we're in watch this. Chapter 17, which is Oligopoly. All right. Oh, shoot, I forgot I got them on D2L. Again, we're going to just do one lecture a week. It'll be Monday at regular schedule time, so you guys are used to this 12:30 time frame, so that's when you show up to get your lecture. Real quickly, just to kind of get us going on this. What much time do we got? We got a bit of time. I'll try to keep these shorter than a regular class too, because I know it's a different format. But yeah, this is just we're in a weird world, and just ride it out, and let's just kind of keep rolling. Are you guys getting used to this? Are you getting accustomed to how we do this? All right, the chapter. Okay, so oligopoly. Any way to do this? So I got my little thing here that I write on. It goes on my screen, and then you guys can see it. I could change my background too. That's fine. All right, oligopoly. You know what I need to do? I need to pull up D2L. Let me pull up the study guide real fast, because that's what I always kind of go from. You guys feel free to talk amongst yourselves while I do this. I've been cooking a lot more. You guys learning how to cook? Because I don't really trust the people at Burger King. They got a good commercial out now where the ladies, like, they're wearing gloves and talking about how safe they are. No, thank you. I don't want you coughing on my burger and my fries. Microeconomics. Okay. Study guides are up there. Yeah, it's called Review for Test 3 New. Chapter 17. So we're jumping forward to 17. We'll go back to 16 next class. Let me show you what that looks like. So there's the study guide. You know how to microwave now? Yeah, that's good. Well done, Alyssa. Yeah, you need to ramp up your game a little bit. So this is on D2L. There's your thing, the study guide. So you guys can pull that up in another window or do it however you want to. But I'll have that up here. So oligopoly, duopoly, cartels, OPEC, collusion, game theory, Nash equilibrium, solution concept, prisoner's dilemma, antitrust laws, resale price maintenance, predatory pricing, tying and bundling, applications, game theory, solving normal form games, pure Nash equilibrium, mixed up. Okay, so here's the thing. Let me give you kind of the highlights. You're going to be responsible for kind of going through, since this has now become kind of a hybrid class online, whatever it is. You're going to be responsible for reading the chapter, going through and kind of learning the materials. You've got we got some emotes. Do we have decent emotes, or are they lame? I got some awesome emotes over on Twitch. I can't do it from there. I've got some of the best emotes out there. But these are just going to be, you guys just going to use the regular old stock emotes here on YouTube. And YouTube's not as good as Twitch for this, but I thought it was more appropriate, so there. So chapter 17, oligopoly. The deal here, one thing I want to do is I want to define this market structure for you. I'm going to put my list over here. And so what do we know about oligopoly? Now this is tough. This is tough handwriting because I can't rest my hand on the there you go. Listen, that's a nice one. Those are all the same old kind of Apple emotes, aren't they? We need a bunch of Pepe the Frogs and all that kind of stuff. Sad Pepe. those things, all those Twitch emotes are good. All right. So I'm just going to quickly define oligopoly for you, and that's going to kind of set up the chapter. And remember how we do this for oligopoly. One thing is the number of firms, and it's a few. Oligopoly is a market setting where you have a few large firms. What's the type of product? Type of product is, I like to say similar but different. Similar but different. All right, now what does that mean? Remember, when it's been a while now, but we kind of go back in time when we were actually in the real world and we were doing class, we talked about the two other types of market structure, perfect competition and monopoly. That was what the last test was. Perfect competition, monopoly, you had, in perfect competition you had a lot of firms, and in monopoly you had one. Here you're in between there, you have a few. For perfect competition, you had a homogeneous or identical, everyone sold the same thing. Monopoly was unique. And now we're in between those two. So we're going to be kind of similar like perfect competition, but we're also going to be kind of unique like in monopoly. You've heard that term before. I think the book says that they're identical or nearly identical. I like to use similar but different. Okay. The demand curve is somewhat downward sloping. The demand curve is somewhat downward sloping. So we're going to have that same downward sloping demand curve, which means an oligopolist will have the ability to reduce the quantity and drive the price up. That's what a downward sloping demand curve gives them. They're going to have some pricing power. So these are going to be very large firms. We're talking about a few firms. You're really talking about anywhere from 2 firms, which is a special case called duopoly, all the way up to like 20 firms. Maybe that's a lot, but whether you have 20 or 30 firms, it doesn't really matter, because what you're going to have is you're going to have like a few large ones that are kind of dominating the market. An example is like Coke and Pepsi. There's plenty of different like beverage companies out there. There's a wide variety of beverage companies, but when we're talking specifically about soft drinks, there might only be about 10 or 12 soft drink companies. And so Coke and Pepsi are the 2 big ones. So we can think in terms of duopoly or oligopoly as being a few large firms like that. The airlines, there's a lot of airlines, there's a few big ones, a United and Delta, that kind of stuff. So these are the very large corporations we're talking about. They have pricing power. Entry conditions, there are large barriers to entry. And then finally, some examples. Those are going to be financial barriers mainly. It's just very difficult to compete with Coke and Pepsi. Let's say we wanted to take out a loan to go start a soft drink company, and we said, okay, we go to the bank and we said we need $20 million. Basically, we need $2 million to set up our factory and $18 million for our advertising campaign to sell a new soft drink that's going to be, brown-colored carbonated sugar water. And they're going to say, don't we already have some of that? And we're like, yeah, we already have a couple companies doing that, but we think we can compete. And they're going to be like, yeah, no thank you. So that's going to be very difficult to get those loans. Examples are going to be, like I said, soft drink companies, soft drinks. Fast food chains. I already talked about Burger King tonight. Fast food. Car companies, airlines, all the big things. Banks, large banks, that kind of stuff. Okay? So these are the big corporations. These are the large corporations that Bernie Sanders doesn't like. These evil corporations, that guy, right? He's the one who hates this stuff. But these are large corporations, and they're all oligopoly. Now, here's the thing. Think about what this actually looks like in the real world and what it means. As it turns out, this is much more difficult to manage than mathematically and in terms of economics. It's much more difficult to think about this than it is perfect competition and monopoly. With perfect competition, each competitor was very small and the market was very large, and they didn't have to worry about any other competitors. They were all just very small players in a very big market. They took the market price as given. They could sell whatever they wanted to at that market price, so they didn't have to worry about what the other truck drivers were doing. They knew what they were doing the same thing they were doing. You just drove your truck as much as you could at that price and make as much money as you could. For monopoly, you didn't have to worry about your competitors because there were no other competitors. Monopoly is that unique situation where there's only one provider, one supplier in the market. Now we got a few. So they're going to be kind of acting a little bit like monopoly, but there's also the potential to get very competitive and act more like perfect competition. When you have a few competitors, what happens is you have to think strategically about how you maximize your profits. And it boils down to something like this. Let's say there's two firms in the market. It's not coronavirus. It's something stuck in my throat. I swear, it's not coronavirus. I don't have it. I don't know why I don't have it. I should have it, as stupid as I've been. But talking, it's not helping. There we go. It's not coronavirus. All right. If you have two firms, you're very close to being a monopoly. And remember what monopolies got to do. They got to restrict their quantity, drive up their prices, and maximize their profits, and maintain those profits over the long run. Perfectly competitive firms would just compete away all of their profits. Well, if you're two firms, you could act competitively and get into a price war and get your prices so low that you were both basically shooting each other in the foot and neither of you were making very big profits. What you could also do is get together and say, hey, why don't we pretend like we're a single firm? What would we do if we were a single firm producing in the market? Well, then we would behave like a monopoly and they get big profits. So how do we do that? Well, let's pretend that we've merged into a single firm, find out what the profit maximizing quantity is, right? What's Q star? That will guarantee that we maximize our profits as this hypothetical single firm. And then we both agree just to produce half of the quantity and we'll both get half of the profits. Well, that turns out to be the most profits that two companies can earn if they choose that strategy of pretending to be a monopoly. The problem is that strategy of pretending to be a monopoly is called collusion, and they have formed what's called a cartel. So all these words, you'll come across all these things, and the problem with that is that it's illegal, because remember what monopolies did. If you think back to when we were still in the real world and we were doing our class stuff, I'll draw it again for you real fast. Our monopoly graph looks something like this. You had your average total cost curve, you had your marginal, you check your notes on this, marginal cost curve, and then you had this, your marginal revenue, your demand, your price, your average revenue. Long story short, that was the profit maximizing quantity, that was the cost, that was the profits, right? We just did this, that was your profits. Those are maximized. And then there was this portion over here. Do you guys remember what we called that portion? That stuff right there? That dark area? That was our dead weight loss. I beat you to it. I think there's about a 20-second delay, so if I ask any questions, I'll just probably answer the question before anybody has a chance to answer it. So if two firms are acting like monopoly, they both basically produce half the quantity. That's quantity over two. So firm one produces half the quantity, firm two produces the other half of the quantity, and they simply split the profits. Firm one gets that, and firm two gets that, and there you go. See how that works? So that's the situation we're in. So both firms would have to agree to release half of the quantity and to price up here at the monopoly price. And here's the problem with that. If both firms in the morning agree that day to price high at the monopoly price, one of the firms is going to think, if I price right below that, I can actually, we'll have slightly lower profits, but I'll get all of it instead of, I'll steal half of that business from my competitor. So you could form an agreement with someone to keep your prices high, but then you could be a jerk and price slightly below them and steal business from them. Well, if you thought that the other firm was going to do that, what would you want to do? Well, you'd want to price below what you thought they were going to price. But they're thinking, what if they're thinking that I'm pricing down here, then they're going to price down here, then I need to actually price below them here. But what if they're thinking that? then they're going to price down here, and pretty soon they're in a price war, right? And that price war takes away, it gets them down to a point where there's no more profits to be had or very little profits. So then they realize, well, shoot, we've just shot ourselves in the foot. We need to go back and price high again. But once you're up there, then there's this incentive to cheat on the agreement. That is the story of oligopoly and cartels. We see it with OPEC. And recently, I don't know if you guys noticed what happened in the oil market, another big thing in economics. OPEC, along with Russia, got together and they were trying to establish a high price for oil and a low quantity. They were restricting the quantity. They have quotas in OPEC, which is the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. And the OPEC countries, Saudi Arabia is the big one there, they were all saying, let's reduce our quantities. Well, Russia wasn't happy with the agreement. And so what Saudi Arabia did, if you've noticed gas prices are low, they just crushed the price. They just started opening up the pumps. They just increased their production massively, drove the price down, and now they're just punishing everybody. And why is Saudi Arabia doing that? Well, they're going to drive a lot of U.S. fracking companies out of business doing this, for one. So they're eliminating a lot of competition by doing this. They're also teaching Russia and the other countries in OPEC a lesson that if you mess with Saudi Arabia, they can crush you. And when this is all said and done, Saudi Arabia is going to say, okay, guys, now does anybody want to join our little cartel again and play like I want to play? And they're just taking the ball away. It's like their ball. And they're going to play, football, but it's our ball. We're going to play. And so now you're going to get, at some point, they're going to say, okay, guys, here's how we're going to do this. And guess what they're going to do? They're going to go right back to this monopoly type deal, this collusive deal, this cartel arrangement. And then people will know, okay, we can't cheat on Saudi Arabia because they have a credible threat. They can really crush us. So they'll all get back up and they'll keep their prices high again. So these games are played out in oligopoly all the time. That's what you're going to be studying in this chapter. And the problem is, it's not enough just to do the algebra like we did before with profit maximization. Profit maximization becomes a strategically interactive game now. And that introduces a new math referred to as game theory. And you'll see game theory is a way of figuring out how these cartels work. I think I'm have time. I'm going to go through one game with you guys called The Prisoner's Dilemma because it applies to this game. The Prisoner's Dilemma is the game that the cartels are playing in the oil market right now. And they're in a price war right now. They're crushing prices and they're in that bad low profit condition right now. And what they want to do is collude. As it turns out, this is the equilibrium outcome is competition, is to compete. But every now and then they'll get together and collude. And so game theory explains how these things work. And I'm just going to go through, and the last thing we're going to do today is I'm going to give you an example of a game. I'll draw it out for you. And we're good to go. First of all, any questions about oligopoly so far? Any comments? You guys got any chat? You want to chat? You guys aren't very chatty. You guys don't chat as much as they do on Twitch. Everybody on Twitch wants to be heard. They want to say snarky, funny things. I'm just stoked that Alyssa knows how to microwave now. That's impressive. You know how to hit minute start. Honestly, but if you hit the minute button 3 times, you don't have to hit start, do you? Gotta be careful. Don't burn yourself. You can overheat things in a microwave. It does take a little bit of practice. And don't burn popcorn. Goodness knows, don't burn your popcorn. That'll stink up your house for a couple days. I'm just giving you guys some little fatherly advice here while you're quarantined. I'm worried. My son, he's all quarantined up in Atlanta, and if he gets sick, he's just gonna have to deal. What can I do? I'm not sure how to deal with that. We do these things called normal form games. I'm going to just spend about 5 minutes on this. We'll get out 15 minutes early today, let you guys get on about your quarantine. Actually, this might be the most exciting thing you guys do in a month, so maybe I shouldn't be so quick to end it. You guys are like, God, I'm so bored. Anybody bored to tears with this? What are you doing? I need to get back to exercising. I've been exercising. Okay. We do game theory with these things called normal form games. First of all, we simplify down to 2 players in the game, okay? No, the popcorn button is useless, isn't it? It'll overcook it in a minute, won't it? Yeah. Don't use the popcorn button. You got to watch it. You got to watch popcorn. Don't walk away. No matter what even if you use the popcorn, this is the most exciting thing you've done in 2 weeks. Not me. I've been traveling internationally. I flew back, and I told you guys, fly first class. I was the only guy in first class, the only guy in the front half of the airplane. There were 6 people on the flight back. They actually took 3 flights from Toronto back to Atlanta. This was Saturday, the last Saturday before they shut the border. I was up there. I almost got stuck. But the last Saturday, they took 3 flights that were coming in, and they consolidated. They canceled 2 of them, put us all on one airplane, and there were 6 of us on that airplane. There were 5 crew and 6 customers. And I was only the first. I had two stewardesses serving me in first class. Yeah, that's Estera. Yeah, I can't advise people on stock purchases because I'm not a licensed financial advisor, but I do a podcast on my Gregonomics Twitch stream Tuesday nights. We're doing it at 7 o'clock on Twitch called Gregonomics. Same thing as here, but over on Twitch. If you're interested in that, I talked to 2 guys. One guy who's a Wall Street banker, Nico. He's got a Twitch stream. He's like a gamer. He plays video games, but he also is a high-end financier up in New York. I think he's Argentinian. He's got a cool accent. He, me, and this guy, Rage Pope, a.k.a. Ryan, he's a computer algorithm, how do we describe it? He uses artificial intelligence and computer neural network programming to come up with trading algorithms for a very large Fortune 500 company. He's one of their computer programmer finance guys. And they we have a stream called Rage Against the Vaccine, which I think is a really clever name. I made it up, Rage Against the Vaccine, and it's about it's not giving you stock tips, but we're talking high level finance. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, go get a Twitch account. It's free, and come check out the Gregonomics stream there. Follow that, and Tuesday nights, usually around 7 o'clock, we do those streams. Most of what Ryan says is over my head. He's super. I mean, he understands all the options, and he's a big finance guy. Understands. He knows. He's dealing with billions of dollars of investors' money on a daily basis, so he has to know everything. He knows more about the coronavirus than most of the public health officials I've listened to, because he has to, because he's got so much money riding on this stuff. I mean, he can't do bro science. Like, he can't watch Joe Rogan and use that as his references. So, okay. So if you're interested in stocks, yeah, you can watch that stream. If you're interested in astronomy, you can watch my Econ Greg stream. But that's only when it's clear. It might be clear tonight. I don't know. Looks clear right now. Check that out. This is boring as hell, though. I mean, economics is too, but the quarantine is boring. All right, so what do you got? You got a 2x2 grid here. The way you do game theory is this. Basically, you got 2 players with 2 decisions. We're going to have the side player over here and the top player over here. Now, the top player has to choose between decision 1 and decision 2. And the side player has to choose between decision 1 and decision 2. So each player has a decision to make. Now, there are plenty of games out there that you can think of. You could play a game of matching pennies where each of you choose heads or tail. That's decision 1 or 2. Heads is 1, tails is 2. Then you flip a coin. And if you flip 2 coins, you both flip a coin. And if you both chose heads, and they both come up heads, then one player wins. If they match, one player gets them. If they don't match, the other player gets them. And so it's a gambling game. There's all kinds of very simple games that you can play where each person's outcome is determined by the overlapping decisions that they both make. So whatever the game is, if it's matching pennies or the prisoner's dilemma game, or there's a game called chicken, there's all kinds of games we could talk about. Just think about it like this. The side player has to choose 1 or 2. The top player has to choose 1 or 2. And then you have some event happen. If both players choose 1, then the side player gets payoff A and the top player gets payoff B. If if the side player chooses 1 and the top player chooses 2, then the side player gets C and the top player gets D. Now we'll put numbers in here eventually, which will represent the payoffs. And then we got E and F and G and H. If the top player chooses 1 and the side player chooses 2, then we'll be down in, this is cell 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we'll be in cell 3. And in cell 3, the side player gets E and the top player gets F, whatever those dollar amounts are, or utility, or whatever it is we're measuring. The thrill of winning and the agony of defeat, we'll quantize those and put them in these cells. Finally, if both players choose 2, we'll be in cell 4. Side player will get G and top player will get H. So side player always gets the first and top player always gets the second. All right, inside there. So then what we do is we say, okay, let's say that top player chooses 2 and side player chooses 2. I can ask you then, what does side player get? And you say G. What does top player get? They get H. That's what they win in the game or lose. What if they both choose 1? Well, then we're in cell 1. Side gets A, top gets B. Okay, that's how you structure these games. All right, file, new. Don't save. I'm not saving these, so you have to go back and look at them if on the VOD. That's the video on demand for you noobs out there, new to the streaming world, the live streaming world. Now let's populate one of these with a real story. All right. This story is called The Prisoner's Dilemma, and it goes something like this. You got 2 crooks, crook A and crook, I don't use that word very much, crook B. Two criminals or prisoners, prisoner A and prisoner B. Prisoner A, or crook A and crook B, have been picked up on petty larceny charges for stealing a bicycle. They stole a bike. The bike was worth less than $500, so it was a pretty small, less than $500, pretty small offense, petty crime. And the most they're going to do, they both have kind of a sketchy background, so they're both going to do 1 year in jail for stealing the bike. The problem is the police are under the suspicion that these 2 guys, Crook A and Crook B, have been robbing banks in town for a while now. They don't have any evidence against them, but they know that if they've been robbing banks, they can put them away for 10 years. So the police want to put these guys away for 10 years, but they only got them for 1 year. What they realize is that if they can get a confession out of these crooks, if one of the crooks will just say, yes, we are the 2 that did this, then they will have enough evidence to put them away for a long time. But these are hardened criminals, and all these 2 criminals have been doing when they asked them if they were the guys who stole the bank was they were like, yeah, we want to talk to our lawyer. We're not going to talk to you guys. We're keeping our mouths shut. All right? So they bring in an economist and a game theorist, and they say, can you get these guys to confess for us? And they're like, okay, let's see if we can do this. And that's probably not legal, but let's show you how this little story works out. What we tell Crook A and Crook B is that they're in their individual holding cells. They can't talk to one another. And they're going to play a game. And that game is to write on a piece of paper, which we've supplied them, either, yes, we are the 2 criminals that have been robbing the banks, or no, we are not the criminals that have been robbing the banks. All right? So just confess or don't confess. So you got 2 choices. Confess that you are the 2 that have been doing it, or don't confess. Confess or don't confess. So the side player, Crook A, can choose the top row or the bottom row. Sometimes we call him the row player. And then the Crook B is the top player or the column player, and he has to choose between column 1 and column 2, confess or don't confess. And it's the interaction of their decisions which will determine how many years they spend in jail. If they both keep their mouth shut, which they've been doing, from their perspective, they're going to lose 1 each. They're going to lose 1 year of their lives in jail. So we'll put a -1 to show that puts them in jail, which is a negative payoff for 1 year. If they both confess, they both go to jail for 10 years. That's a 10. Oh no, I just screwed it up. Oh no. For 10 years. Oh, I screwed up my size back. There we go. There we go. 10 years. Whatever. I just made that so stupid. Try it again. It's bad streaming here. If I was looking for like paid subscribers, I'd be dead in the water. -10 and -10. So they both go 10 years in jail. That was a long time. Sorry about that. What about in the eventuality that each of them, so by the way, they both got 10 minutes to make their decision. After 10 minutes, they have to write on the paper, either confess or don't confess. Then they slide it under the door, and then we'll compare their answers. Neither of them know what the other one is doing at the time. It's called a simultaneous move game, in that they both have to make their decision not knowing what the other has decided. But what we tell these crooks, and we talk to their attorneys and the judge, and everybody agrees on this, if crook B confesses and crook A keeps his mouth shut, then we're going to look kindly on crook B for being the confessor there, and we're going to let crook B go free, which is 0 years in jail, but we're going to be able to put crook A away for 20 years, because not only has he now been proven to rob a bank and steal a bike, but he's also perjured himself by lying under oath. So we got him there. What if player A or crook A confesses and player B doesn't confess? Well, then player A will go free. We will look kindly on him, but then player B, crook B, is in that bad situation. Okay? So now the question is, how do we solve this game? They're both going to now have 10 minutes to sit there and think. Now, where do they want to end up? If you look at it, the best combined payoff is cell 4 down here. That's where they both only spend a year in jail. Anywhere else, there's like a combined 20 years of jail time. Now, granted, it's the who gets the jail time varies in the other payoffs, but if you're just kind of looking at cell 4 versus all the others, everyone has a good reason to think that 4 is a pretty good outcome. So the question is, what do they do? Well, here's the thing with this. For a long time, no one knew how to solve these problems until John Nash gave us the Nash solution concept. So what we're looking for here is the Nash equilibrium. And we use the Nash solution concept to find that Nash equilibrium. And here's how we do it. Nash was an interesting guy. He actually was a paranoid schizophrenic. He succumbed to that disease when he was out of grad school in his early 20s, which is when that disease strikes people. And he was very much thinking that aliens were real, and that he was the government was after him and all that kind of stuff. But he was also very intuitive about and thought differently. His brain was a very unique brain that thought differently about these things. I guess the way you'd say it is that normal brains would look at this problem and say, well, I wonder what the other guy's going to do. I wonder what he's thinking I'm going to do. I wonder what he's thinking I'm thinking. He's thinking I'm thinking. And we kind of lock up and we just kind of flip a coin. But he was like, no, let's look at this more logically. And he said, look, if you're crook A, you don't know what crook B is going to do. Even if you think you know him, he might make a mistake and do the exact opposite of what you think. So we don't know what crook B is going to do, but we do know that he's either going to confess or he's not going to confess. One of the two. He's either going to say, yes, we did it, or no, we didn't. So all we have to do is look at each situation and then think about how we would respond if we knew he was in one of those two situations rather than the other. So let's assume that we're crook A, and we're going to assume that we think crook B is going to confess. If that's the situation, and we confess, we get 10 years in jail, and if we don't confess, we get 20 years in jail. Well, that's really easy. I would rather only spend 10 years in jail than 20. So if I knew he was going to confess, I would also want to confess, because that would save me some years in jail. So at least I know this. If I can peep through a hole in the wall and watch him say confessing, then I'm going to definitely want to confess. Well, then what about if he doesn't confess? What if we can peep through the hole and we see that he's writing, we did not do it? Well, If I don't confess, I get a year in jail. And if I confess, I get free. Oh, well, crap. I would rather go free than spend a year in jail. Which means that if he's not confessing, I want to confess also. So as it turns out, I have what's called a dominant strategy to always confess. Now, what about the other possibility? What if we're crook B? And then that's actually very insightful. As it turns out, we know exactly what to do. Because whatever he does, he's going to do one of two things. And whatever he does, we're always better off as crook A confessing. Well, the same thing actually applies to crook B. If crook A confesses, he would rather confess. I'll draw an arrow to his more preferred outcome there. And if crook A doesn't confess, then he would rather not confess and spend 0 years rather than 1 year in jail. So crook B has a dominant strategy to also always confess. And what we can do is cross out any box with at least one arrow leaving it. There's 2 arrows leaving that box. There's 1 arrow leaving that box, that one there. There's 1 arrow leaving this box, so we can cross that one out. But notice here we've got overlapping best responses. Overlapping best responses. And that's the Nash solution concept. The Nash solution concept is look for overlapping best responses. And that's what self-interested individuals are going to do in this situation. But notice that means they spend 10 years in jail instead of 1 year in jail, and that's why we call it the prisoner's dilemma. The prisoner's dilemma is called the prisoner's dilemma because when these prisoners are acting in their own self-interest, they end up hurting themselves. And that's contrary to a lot of economic theory, which says self-interest leads to a more efficient outcome. Here, self-interest drove them to, personally, their least efficient outcome. That's what a price war is when you have 2 firms in oligopoly. That's what's happening right now with Saudi Arabia crushing everybody's profits. Everybody's going to jail for a long time. Everybody's in a bad world right now because Saudi Arabia has decided to get into a price war, and Russia is going right along with them. So Russia and them, they're just both getting in this huge price war, and it's killing their profits. What will they do eventually? They're going to want to get back over to that collusion standpoint. That's a very unstable point, though, because the second they get back to the collusion standpoint, someone like Russia is going to want to cheat, and then Saudi Arabia is going to have to come in and crush it again. So they're always trying to be over here, but ending up back in the Nash equilibrium, which is they both confess in this situation, or they both get into a price war in the oligopoly setting. All right, so that's game theory. You'll see it in the book. I've given you kind of a rundown of it here. You can go back and watch this video later if you have problems with the way it works in the book. That's going to show you how oligopoly works. And then the rest of it is just a lot of mechanics and learning about how do we deal with oligopoly. We make it illegal for them to collude. Those are antitrust laws. There's things with resale price maintenance and some other things you'll want to look at. Predatory pricing, tying and bundling, have a look at those things. And that should be everything for this chapter. And that, my friends, was our first official online class. I don't know what that's all about. And by the way, notice that we have up here $23.6 trillion in federal government debt. That's about to go to 25.8. This is going to go up by $2 trillion. We're going to have $2 trillion more of debt. That's going to put us at a much worse position nationally. So if you have any questions about that, I'll be here for the remainder of class. You guys are free to run. If you guys have any questions, hit me up. I will stream the rest of the class period, which is 5 minutes, and answer any questions. And just keep tuning into D2L. We'll have this class every Monday at 12:30. I'll do this class. We'll do chapter 16 next class, and then chapter 18 after that, and then 10 and 11, and that's the rest of the semester. Once a week's all you got to do, though. So if you got anything you want to ask, any questions about the economy, any questions about the world of doo-doo that we find ourselves in now, since this is all being recorded, I can't cuss. Damn it. I can show you. We can go look at Reuters.com, good news service. Got a hospital ship coming in there. That's something we can try. I talked about that hospital ship earlier. Look how long it's taken. It's taken weeks to get that hospital ship up to New York where it's needed. I mentioned that earlier in class. All this stuff works. Death versus the economy. I can talk about that. So if you have any econ questions about the current situation, by the way, this is going to be very costly. It might be too costly. We'll see. The cure might be worse than the disease. We'll find out. Maybe not. Maybe this is all well worth it. I think one good thing is we're going to be better prepared going forward to deal with something. I don't think that this is the worst possible virus. This is not like an Ebola type virus that's going to cause you to bleed out, 50% death rate, that kind of thing. Something like that had a long incubation period and could spread rapidly, that would be kind of bad. So maybe this will help us prepare for something like that might come down. Look at that. Boom. From 19 trillion down to 70. Yeah. This is going to be big. Look at how much worse this is than the Great Recession was the largest recession since the Great Depression, and we're crushing it. We're absolutely crushing, and there is no end in sight. It's going to keep that precipitous fall. It's just going to keep going. So it's going to be bad. I mean, you guys need to really prepare yourselves for a very bad economy. Don't be jerks to your parents right now. I mean, when they're saying like you need to come home and do this and do that, you have to do that, because we're about to enter a time that's not going to be fun, and you're going to have to ration your fun for a while. You already kind of know that. You're already super bored. So I'm just understand that decisions like, but I wanted you to pay for my new apartment for a whole year. Yeah, and that may not happen right now. It's gonna be tough. We're gonna have to. You just even if like I'm fine right now, but I'm even having to say, okay, I can't spend money like I normally do, because I can't. I don't. There's a good probability that my income is going to take a hit with my consulting. So the money that I'm making right now, I got to save. I got to save that. So those kind of decisions are going to have to be made, and you guys are going to have to buckle down and grow up a little bit faster maybe than you wanted to. And you're already grown up, but you know what I'm saying. Something to consider, and something to kind of get ready for, because this is not good. All right, well, if there's no questions, no discussion, nothing you guys want to talk about, you got a PhD economist who's an expert in health economics at your disposal to ask any question to, and you guys are like, I'm good. Yeah, I'm just gonna go get some more frozen pizzas and call it a day. I got hamburger helper. I've been hitting the hamburger helper, and I got a bunch of canned foods. I'm pretty prepped. I'm well prepped for this. I might go over and stream on my Gregonomics stream on Twitch. All right, guys. If there's nothing further, I will see you guys a week from today, Monday at 12:30. Make sure you got those notifications on. We'll go through chapter 16. I wanted to go through some things and kind of introduce you guys to the whole streaming format this time. So I'll be a little more quick and a little more deliberate with the next lecture, and try to get through the material more quickly, just to get that out there. And then what I'll do is I'll reserve the remainder of the time for any questions that you have, because things are going to get worse before they get better. So if you have any questions about that, if you're nervous about some of this stuff, let me know. Look, we'll get through it. It's no big deal, but it's going to be tough. Going to build some character here. Be prepared to have your character built. Those are always tough lessons, but they're worth. Hey, thanks for showing up, Colin. Appreciate you checking in, And like I said, if you want to tune into my Gregonomics stream over on Twitch, feel free. I'll be streaming some there this week. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them there. Email me the questions. If you have things you want me to talk about, let me know. D2L, stay on D2L. I'll do announcements there every week, and we'll just get this semester finished and make sure you guys I'll get your grades up there at some point next couple of days. All right, guys. Signing out, I think. Oh, how was the quality? Anybody real quick, someone who's still there, how was the quality of the stream? If you were here the whole time, I've had 4 dropped frames. Was it herky-jerky or was it pretty stable? Was the stream pretty stable? Did I have dropped frames? Did I have robotic freezes? I've been having some problem with my local internet. I'm not sure what. I think everybody's just clogging up the bandwidth. If there's anybody still there, got a quick comment on how it worked. I had some people coming and going. Most everybody's left. Oh, and how's the sound quality? Everything is great. Okay, good. Pretty stable. All right, good. All right, guys. Be safe. Wash your hands. Do all that stuff, and don't cough on people. Be cool. Good, Colin. And help the guy in the motorized buggy with the cane. I mean, let's not totally lose our humanity here. Just don't cough on him, and don't let him cough on you. Let's just be safe. Be deliberate, but make sure you still look out for everybody. And I'll catch you guys next week. All right, later.